not changing, you're choosing. What you are allowing, you are accepting. What you are permitting, you are actually promoting. These are all variations of the exact same concept that if you don't change anything, nothing's going to change. But the reality is that you can't change your friends, but you can change your friends. Now, with all of these quotes aside, there are quite a few lessons to be learned from these quotes that we hear all the time. And how do we move forward? Well, there's 3 lessons that we're going to talk about today, starting with this idea of who is benefiting from you continuing to be in the place that you're in. At the end of the day, there are people who benefit from the person you are, from the value you provide, and from the experiences that you have. And there are those who are getting a lot out of you staying in the place that you're at. Maybe it's to make themselves feel better. It's to make themselves feel like they're doing better than you because you're at a lower place than them in their mind. And if you were to get better, then they would have to get better, and they don't want to do any more work. They're done. So they're benefiting from you choosing to keep the status quo, to keep things going as they are. And the reality is that so many people are going to want to keep you small, even if they're not explicitly saying it. But if you're ever hearing comments like, oh, like, just skip the gym. Why are you even eating that diet? Does it really matter if you read the book or go for a drink? Like, come on, just let's go. Now, people might not be doing it maliciously. They might not be doing it with ill intent, but they might be. And you have to figure out why you're doing the things that you're doing and for who. What benefits are you getting out of continuing to come home and sit on the couch, continuing to not write that book or read that book that you want to learn from? What are you getting out of it? Do you get to feel bad about yourself and that takes up more time and less effort than putting in the energy to work out and to think of these new ideas? Is it easier for you to continue the status quo? At some point, it's going to not be easier, and you can decide that that day is today. I am going to do the things that I want to do because I'm not going to continue to take this life for granted. And if you are in a place where up until this point you feel like you have, and that if you just suddenly switched, is that even going to be possible? It is going to be possible. Do you know how I know that? Well, everything that you've put in your mind so far you've achieved. If you've achieved going home and sitting on the couch every single day and been consistent at that, or ignoring your financials and continuing to buy all the stuff that you don't want, you've been consistent at that. So why not continue this consistency ability in a direction that you actually wanted to go in? Because there are things that you can do for yourself today that it's up to you to decide, because there are things that you are benefiting from with these behaviors, but there's also people around you who are. And if you do go on a various decision-making path, whether that is losing weight or getting fit or starting a new chapter in your life, moving to a new location, the people who want you to stay who you are benefiting because of you being in that position. It might be all your friends from your hometown who don't want you to leave because they don't have as many friends then. People are selfish in the sense that they're going to do what works best for them and are going to try to get people around them to do what's best for them as well. But you have to decide what's best for you, and the people who are actually on your side, the people who are there for you and who want to be there for you, are going to allow you to blossom into this new version of yourself. Anybody that's trying to keep you back is not a person who should be in your life, and if they fall away because you are taking control of your life, then they should fall away, because these people are benefiting from the small version of you, the fat version of you, the bigger version of you, the sad version of you, the depressed version of you. And you don't want people around you who are preying on this idea that you are smaller because of the decisions that you're making. You want people who want you to be the best version of yourself and who want to see you grow. And if these people are not the ones you're surrounded by, it is time to look at that reality. A lot of people don't. A lot of people choose to stay in the small town and to live there for their whole lives. but they do so with the understanding that they're not reaching for the stars, they're not reaching their fullest potential. That doesn't mean you need to get up and move, but it does mean you need to get up and make the decisions that work for you, and you have to realize why you are stuck where you are. That's where I came to earlier this year. I had outgrown Boston. I didn't want to be there anymore, and all the friends that I had made really felt replaceable, and the ones who I am still in touch with, who I still connect with, are the ones who were encouraging me to be the best version of myself, because they saw the version of myself that existed underneath the sad version of me that went to the same job and was hurt and was crying and was mad all the time. There is somebody who is rooting for you, and if there's no one else, it needs to be you. You have to be on your side more than anybody else. You have to be your biggest cheerleader, and if you're not, you're going to face so many people that are going to want to keep you in that low position. So when you are looking at losing people, realize that the loss isn't as painful as losing yourself to the version that you could be. Don't let this life pass you by because somebody likes you as their best friend, but as their small best friend that doesn't have a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts. Those people are not helping you grow. And if you are continuing to stay in the same place, it is because you have become complacent and compliant. There are certain behaviors that you are now just constantly doing, and that there are those people in your life who have forced you into that position and are making you feel this way. You have become complacent. You are willing to not strive that much, not go for the walk, not go for the promotion, not go for that extravagant experience. You have become just there, and you have become a passenger in your own life, and you have just become this version of yourself that is smaller than the version that you want to be. But that version that you want to be is on the other side of these routines that have kept you in the same place. If you want to be a better version of yourself, you have to figure out how you got to this point. And I looked at myself and I was like, I am not working out. I am not hanging out with people that I really enjoy. I feel like I always have to make the funny joke or do something interesting or comply with what somebody else wants to do. And that's the other half of this, is you have become compliant to all the people in your life. You're fine with going out to that person's favorite bar because you just don't care and you don't even want to be there anyway, so why are you going to put the effort into picking which bar you're going to go to? You don't even want to be there. And you're going to drink because everyone else is drinking, and you're going to buy 2 more drinks because you no longer want to be there, and now you're drinking because it's more fun, it's more interesting, or it's giving you something to do. You're becoming compliant to the rules that other people have now made for your life, and you are falling into line with what other people want from you. And it's not other people's fault, and they're not necessarily bad people, but someone being bad for you is enough for you to step away and say, you know what, this just isn't it for me. I need to move on. There are so many people out there that you can meet, and there's also a lot of alone time that you can grow within and enjoy. I do not spend a lot of time with a lot of other people right now. It is a time where I'm getting to grow my thoughts and my views and getting to really figure out what it is that I enjoy doing on my own, so that when I do come around other people and it's not as fun or it's not as interesting, I know that I can rely back on, well, when I'm by myself, it's interesting and fun and I do the things that I want. Why would I be around a person who isn't letting me be myself, or we're doing things that I don't like ever? And why would I want to be in that? So you have to give yourself the contrast to start complying to yourself and not to what everybody else wants and thinks should be happening. But you have to realize where you are being complacent, where you're not really striving for more. And if you're doing it in one category, you're probably doing it in all the others. I finally started doing ballet again just these past few days. I will link down below Lazy Dancer. She's amazing. She has so many free YouTube videos, and I loved dancing when I was a little kid, and I wish I had stayed with it. And that was one of the things I was saying to myself. I was like, man, I wish I had stayed with it. And I followed her all throughout college. And then I kind of stopped when I took on that job. And I'm like, I lost all this time. But instead of beating myself up for not having done it then, I'm just going to pick it up now. I can't go back in time and fix it and redo it. All I can do is decide I'm not going to let another day go by that keeps me from the person that I want to be. And that doesn't mean I need to do a 7-hour ballet routine every morning. I can do a stretching with her, and she's always smiling and lovely, and I will post it down below, but it is those things that I have to do for myself. And then I'll go for a walk, or I will go outside and just spend a moment existing in nature. These are things that aren't insanely difficult, but they reconnect me back to myself, and they make me realize people that are draining me or hurting me, or I have to overthink what I said or didn't say, or, oh, that text was kind of weird, they're not going to answer. I don't want those people in my life because it makes me feel uncomfortable. And compliance is the relationship that we have with the government and the cops and pretty much everybody that you don't want to have a relationship with, and those kinds of relationships we shouldn't actively invest in. If your friend is forcing you to do a certain thing, or you feel annoyed or upset every time you're around them, why? There are certain things you have to do in this life. You have to get a job to afford your bills so you can live somewhere. You have to eat food so that you can continue to run your body in a good way. You have to get sleep so that you can function as a person, so you can do all these other things. Your other things that you do in a day shouldn't be there because you have to. You shouldn't hang out with somebody because you've known them since second grade, since you've known them for 15 years. You don't have to continue to be in those people's lives. You get to choose to say, you know what? Yeah, I've known you for a long time, but every time we hang out, I'm upset and annoyed and hurt by you. I don't like feeling that way, and therefore I'm going to move on. You get to move on, and you should only be following the rules that you set out for yourself, because no one's going to yell at you when you break them, but only you are going to feel the consequences of when you do, and the hurt and the anxiety that goes along with it. And you get to hang out with people that you want to. Nobody's forcing you to hang out with anyone. Whether that's your family or your friends or people you do or don't know that well, you don't need to be around anyone in particular. There's certain things you have to do, and you'll do those, and it'll be easier to show up for those things because now you're excited about the other things in your life. You're excited about the person that you're texting, or the walk that you're going on, or being around those people when you volunteer. There are certain things that you get to choose, and take those choices with full power. Take your power back. And that's really lesson number 3, is your power is your own, and nobody else gets to take it from you unless you hand it over. Things are only going to be acceptable to you if you accept it. And now we've talked about acceptance, where acceptance is a place that you need to get to, not to allow it or to forgive it, but to say, I'm moving on. There are certain things that you just have to move on from, but you don't have to accept that shitty guy who only texts you at 1 a.m. you up, or that friend who only needs somebody to talk to after they've broken up with the same guy for the 15th time. You don't have to accept those people in your life. Everybody will show you their behaviors, their abilities to communicate, to have fun, to enjoy life, and you get to decide if you are going to accept it as a presence in your life or not. Those people don't just get a free access pass to you unless you hand it over. If somebody is texting you in a way you don't like to, or speaking to you in a way you don't want to be spoken to, you can cut them off, whoever that person may be. And if you're saying, well, it's not somebody I can just cut off, then limit their access to you. If you have to hang out with in-laws or with step siblings or something, You don't have to give it as much energy as you probably are. Your power is your own, and you don't need to constantly give it away. And that kind of goes for everything that you do. You don't have to constantly give your greatest energy to everyone and every interaction and everything that you do. You need to conserve your energy for the things that you actually want to do. That person at Starbucks, that person on the phone, they don't need to deserve the greatest version of you. Now, you don't need to be rude or hurtful or mean, but you don't have to give and give and give so that there's nothing left for you. That friend that you don't really like seeing, you don't need to see them as much. That assignment that you need to do for work, put in the work to get it done, but you don't need to make it the most pristine, elite thing ever. The work needs to get done. Do it in a way that makes sure that it's done, but that leaves you with enough time to do other things. And that's really what everybody wants, is they want their stuff done well, but not to the point where you're spending 27 hours a day doing this project. That's not good for the budget, it's not good for you, and you have to realign your priorities and figure out, my power is mine, and whether I give 110% to this job that is not reciprocating, and even if it is, you have to realign your goals. Is this the job that you want to do forever? Is there other things that you want to prioritize as well? And make sure you have enough energy at the end of the day for you to do those things. If you're giving 120% at work and you come home and you have to sleep until the next day so that you can have enough energy to do it again tomorrow, you are not aligning your power with where it should be. Figure out what it is that you want from life so that you can allocate energy towards it. You have to brush your teeth and wash your hair and wash your clothes, and there's certain energy that's associated and given to that, but it doesn't have to be this constant uprooting of who you are as a person every time you have to do something. Spend the time that you need to do certain things, but then figure out, what is it that I want to do with the rest of my time? If this job is not the thing you want to do forever and ever, give it the appropriate amount of time and energy. We have to start giving appropriate effort to the things that we want from life. If you do want to nurture a relationship and a friendship, give that the appropriate time. Don't go 7 weeks without talking to that friend if you really do care about them and want their respect and their time in your life. Don't treat people like they're replaceable or like they're going to just be there forever. I had to realize that there were certain people who I was giving and giving to that weren't giving to me in the ways that I want. There was a person I was very close to my entire childhood, and I missed one phone call and she never wanted to speak to me again. And if that happens, it is very jarring to watch and to see, but at the end of the day, if somebody doesn't want to be in my life and doesn't want to show up correctly, that's not on me. And I have to accept that this is the reality of the situation. And of course, there's plenty of times before that I should have realized that the smallest thing is just going to snap this entire connection. And it did. And I no longer live in that state. I no longer talk to those people. And that's really just the reality of it. I feel so much more at peace now that I am not constantly surrounded by people who hate their lives and their relationships and their entirety of their existence. They're constantly complaining, and that gets to you. And you feel like you have to recharge from these situations, and that's why you're sleeping more, but you're not actually rested. You're still tired. And I had to realize that all of these people were taking and taking and taking from me because I was listening to their complaints and about their lives and about how this person annoyed them or the dog wouldn't stop barking. And it was just this mindless chatter that was taking up so much of my space in my mind and energy, and I had none left for myself. Now that I've removed myself from all of those people, I am choosing the boundaries that exist. There are people that I talk to now that I'm willing to spend the time with because I am excited to talk to them, or I feel energized, or I feel better about myself after. And if someone isn't giving to me, the amount that I give to them has dropped significantly. If somebody doesn't want you there, don't be there. Figure out your power and realign as needed. What you're not changing, you most certainly are choosing, but it's up to you to make the decision to continue to be there or to get out. There is so many more things that we're going to talk about, and these are just 3 of the lessons today. We've also talked about ACOTAR and Beetlejuice and really trying to figure out what lessons exist in the world so that we can live the greatest life that we possibly can. Thank you for being here. I hope you have an amazing week, and I will catch you very soon.